Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining this afternoon for our Ingram Micro Cloud webinar on Dropbox and the partner opportunity. My name is Craig Bobed. I'm the National Manager for the Cloud Solutions team here at Ingram Micro, and I am joined today by Liz from Dropbox. I'd just like to kick off this afternoon and just give you a little bit of an idea of who we are and what we do here at the Ingram Micro Cloud team. And when we're going to market and talk to your resellers about this thing called cloud, we're really coming at it from a perspective of being this master cloud service provider. Being the Ingram Micro that we've been for the last 30 years here around the hardware and software side of things, we're now taking more of an approach also when it comes to the cloud and online services and bringing together the best of breed of the cloud services and cloud tools to our resellers here and work with them on how to find the best way to take those to market, greatest tools in which to transit into these cloud service provider models, and delivering those through our marketplace. Now, Ingram Micro Cloud Marketplace, if you haven't already activated your account, is our one portal to be able to build, provision, manage a range of vendor services, keep track of all those licenses, keep track of all those customers, be able to build and run teams through there as well. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later on at the end of the day when we take you through a quick guide on how to actually transact Dropbox through the marketplace. But really the key thing is as well the teams, the guys that we have on the ground in Australia and New Zealand, able to really get in, have a chat to you guys around these services, where they kind of best fit with your customers, and really how to kind of bundle your own IP and services and take those out to market. And so for us, when we're talking about cloud, not so much a technology change, but more around that business change. As said, more and more vendors are moving into that software selling model where we're doing these subscriptions, on that per annum, per user, or per month, per user basis. And so how do we take that new model and still, keep the lights on, build our own IP out there into market, make ourselves unique into market, really be able to scale and simplify these services and bring on new customers at a higher rate. And really, on the back of that is how do you develop a system to be able to support that, both from a sales perspective, a marketing perspective, a technology perspective, as well as that support piece as well. And that's where our team comes in, really getting to understand you, understand your clients, how best we can map the different technologies that we have and the different services that we have right across the Ingram Micro ecosystem, and how do we take those out to market. So this afternoon, I'm going to quickly hand it over to Liz, and she's going to take us through the overview of Dropbox Business, where that fits in from a value proposition perspective. And that's it. I'm going to chime back in later today and take you through just how we go on and log on to the marketplace and transact Dropbox through there. And then we'll have a bit of a Q&A. Now, by all means, pop through any questions that you have into the chat box, and as we go along, we'll be able to take breaks and kind of answer those. But right at the end, any questions that you have, by all means, please stick your hand up, and you've got us happy to run through any questions and queries that you have. But that's enough from me. Now from Dropbox, and without further ado, welcome, Liz.
Thanks, guys. So, as Craig mentioned, my name is Liz Couch. I'm one of the partner account managers here at Dropbox ANZ. So, as we mentioned today, we just want to give you a bit of an overview of Dropbox Business and then walk you through the Dropbox Business value proposition. By all means, as Craig mentioned, feel free to ask any questions through the chat box because we're happy to answer them as we walk through this. So I guess the biggest question that you guys will always have is, what's in it for you? Well, as you can see on the slide at the moment, 20% on GP on new licenses is what you get, and then on renewal you get 15%, which is a great opportunity for any person looking at reselling Dropbox. The great thing about Dropbox as well is a lot of people are already using the solution. So when you are going in to work with some of your customers, you'll find that there's already adoption across the business. Whether that's from a free or potentially a paid perspective, customers are already using the tool. It's also giving organisations a way of managing what's happening across their organisation. It's not just a tool that works, but it's a tool that allows you to make your team collaborate more effectively with all the tools that they're actually leveraging. And also, from a sales cycle perspective, it's very simple and easy for you to have your organisations renewing with you, and also there's low friction in the way that happens. So, in terms of Dropbox, just to give you a bit of a snapshot of what our mission is, our focus is to simplify the way that people work together and get work done. We want to essentially give individuals the freedom to work the way that they want to work, but also being able to leverage the tools that they already have in place to collaborate and effectively give organisations back the control while being able to make sure that people are happy in their work environment. So in terms of Dropbox, as many of you may be familiar with Dropbox, and for those that are on today and who aren't, Dropbox is the world's largest collaboration network. With over 500 million members globally, that's a huge volume of people that are actually leveraging Dropbox. There are 8 million organisations across the world that are using Dropbox in some form, and there's 150,000 businesses that are currently paying for Dropbox for Business. So huge volume of numbers of people that are actually using it, both from a consumer perspective and also business perspective. But to give you an idea, there's over 8 million people in Australia alone using it. So as I mentioned previously, there are going to be people across organisations that you're working with that are already leveraging Dropbox. Now, with those connections also comes 3.3 billion people who are connecting with each other on a daily basis, collaborating, sharing folders, files, collecting content from other people. So people are actively leveraging Dropbox. And in this modern work environment, you need to be able to create a way that people can collaborate and work day to day. Technology has essentially transformed the way people are working and interacting with each other. There are so many apps available these days, and you want to make sure that the tools that you're giving your employees or the people that you're working with is matching. At Dropbox, we believe that every employee should be able to access. They should be able to access their files anywhere, at any time, across any device, any geography, and so that's our mission, to make it simple and easy for your employees to work. And that's where Dropbox actually comes in. We're able to connect platforms and also be that tissue that aligns, the real-time with the enterprise application. So essentially connecting the old with the new, but giving people a way to work that they already prefer to work. And a lot of you may have found that people that you're working with, 1 or 2 people in the organisation use Dropbox in a personal way. This is bringing it into the organisation, but essentially not changing it for them. Cool. So in terms of the Dropbox value proposition, now this is going to go over a couple of slides for you, but to make it very simple, Dropbox allows you to connect both past and recent documents. It also allows you to collaborate externally, collaborate internally, and ensure that all the tools that you're using across your organisation are meeting up with what is needed by the people in the company. In terms of personal productivity, and I'll get into this a little bit later, but as many of you know, we have organisations, across the world, Office 365 being one of the key ones that we partner with. Making it more effective for your organisations and the employees to work on the go, but also have access to the documentation that they require. So whether you're in Salesforce and you need to save something down or notes need to be accessed into your Dropbox account, you can work with many stakeholders and access the same data regardless of what platform you're on. And then, storage reduction. So in terms of organisations and the amount of storage that they're using these days, Dropbox for Business gives our customers unlimited storage, which is extremely valuable. for creating backups, having high volumes of data, but also being able to pull any information that you require from the past, whether it's versions of different documentation, and potentially bringing it to the future without having to worry about all that storage that you're leveraging. And then enterprise management. So a couple of you guys may have read about this recently. There's a whole lot of different tools available that you can leverage to make it a full enterprise solution. Now, each organization will vary depending on the needs and obviously the level of security that they're in placing on their organization. But with the Dropbox API, you have the ability to provide what is required to make sure that you're leveraging an enterprise solution. So just a bit of a snapshot of some of the organizations that we're already working with. And for a lot of you who will be familiar with some of these, you might not be so familiar, but Mirvac, your News Corp, your Vodafone. If you were based in Singapore, potentially Grab Taxi, Yahoo, Spotify, Facebook. So a great range of top brands that have actually turned to Dropbox to get us to help them to bridge the gap between the way that they were previously working and the way their new teams are working. So modernising that gap and ensuring that everyone is being very successful, but also really productive in their time. So a bit of a snapshot on Dropbox Business value proposition. So as you can see from this table in front of you, there's both an IT value and a business value. And this is something to really look at. And from an IT perspective, what Dropbox directly does for most IT teams is reduces the amount of money that's been spent in terms of technology. But from an indirect perspective, it's also giving organizations the ability to have that control back. And as many of you guys know who are on the phone today, your most valuable piece of tool in your organization is your IP. And if your IP isn't protected and locked down, you could potentially lose a range of data and also very important documentation that's relevant to your business. And to give you a little bit of a story on that, I was working with a good friend of mine, happened to be a CEO of an organization that actually moved money from exchange. Now, they were using free Dropbox across all of their organizations. They were missing is having the ability to device manage. Now, with Dropbox Business, they are able to actually see what devices are connected to all the Dropbox accounts that they have, but also make sure that if a device goes missing, they can remote wipe it. So reducing that risk that potentially can happen in any organization. Now, from a business perspective, it's great because you're going to see your revenue increase. And the reason that you're going to see that increase is because your employees are more productive, and they also have processes in place that they know how to use. Dropbox isn't a hard tool to use, but also because people are using it from a consumer perspective, it makes it a lot easier for them to do the transition over to the Dropbox Business tool. And it improves the processes within your organization and the organizations that you're essentially working with. So in terms of the solution, and I kind of touched on this before, but Dropbox for Business is a solution for all users, which allows them to work seamlessly from anywhere, empowering them with the tools that they already have, while still allowing the company to control what's happening across their business. And that leads me nicely into the IT perspective. So the great thing about Dropbox Business is that essentially it's like a light. What it allows you to do, and the administration piece specifically, is it allows you to control and also have full visibility across what your organization is doing. And it doesn't matter if you're a small organization with 5 people or you're an organization that has tens of thousands. You still want to have the ability to create those policies to protect your data both internally and externally, and ensure that there's restrictions across what your employees are doing with the files. So from an IT perspective, there's 3 key areas. There's onboarding. So like any time a new employee would start, you have the ability to onboard them to Dropbox Business, leveraging single sign-on two-factor authentication, or potentially your Active Directory. Then you want to be able to manage what your employees are doing. And I'm not saying lock them down and control them and throw away the key. I'm just saying being able to see what's happening. So whether that's running audit logs through the administration console to see who people are sharing with, how often they're logging in, what IP addresses they're logging in. You don't essentially want to have someone sitting in an office room with you at the moment on their computer, but notice that they're logging in from, hypothetically, the US or somewhere in Asia. You want to know that when they're accessing their Dropbox account, they're accessing it from where they actually are. And then offboarding. So that employee decides to leave the business. Having the ability to remote wipe all their devices when they're online, transfer any of that data or any project that they've been working on to another employee, whether it be a current employee or a new employee, and then just ensuring that all compliances are met across the organisation. So this is a great way for IT to take back control, have a deep analysis on what's going on across their organisation, and also make sure that the behaviours in terms of sharing are happening quite smoothly and the way that they should be.
I think that's kind of key is when we're talking about from a retailer's perspective, having that conversation about, yes, look, we know that you've got users inside the organization that are using either the free Dropbox or maybe similar tools, and it's giving them the functionality that they're looking for. But from a company's perspective, they really want to focus on that compliancy and security, as you're saying. Everything that's valuable to them is their IP, their information. So here we're taking, having that conversation, taking back that security control, the ability to onboard, I think that ability to manage who is logging in on what devices, and really importantly, that ability to offboard when an employee leaves, having the control to keep retention of that data. Something you obviously don't get visibility in if they are using one of the free version, the free products within that. So I think that's almost one of the key conversations that you want to have with a solution such as this, knowing full well that at least a couple of users are going to be using something like this because this is what we expect in this kind of day and age around functionality and mobility and flexibility, but that security and compliance is such a very easy conversation to have, and even from a technological point of perspective, really, really easy to implement as well.
Yeah, super easy. And something to think about when we talk about that compliance is, for example, if you're working in the tax field with your data, and if the data is being held by an employee that's potentially less account, you're losing the 7 years of records that you potentially need to have. So that's why Dropbox Business is so good, because you control all the IP. And from a customer's perspective, them knowing that their data is really secure using the solution.
Absolutely.
So in terms of Dropbox Business, as many of you may or may not know, we have a great API. And the API is something that we've really focused on to make sure that organizations can leverage the tools and solutions that they have already in place to make sure that ecosystem is actually best in breed in terms of the approaches to security, giving your IT team, so essentially yourselves, the ability to easily access the tools that are needed by your customers, making sure that their data is staying safe without essentially impacting, the end user experience. And that's something that I really wanted to touch on right now. For the end user, nothing changes. It's you actually being able to control where the data is, who's seeing the data, whether they need to use Active Directory and single sign-on. You're giving that control to the organization, but also making sure that nothing happens. So as you can see, here are a couple of the integrations that we currently have, but there are thousands and thousands of them out there. So Salesforce being one of the big ones that we integrate in terms of CRM tools. But the great thing about these integrations is what it does is it makes your teams more productive in their day-to-day activities. If they're already using tools, having plugins that enable them to save straight to Dropbox makes it easier for them. It covers every aspect of specific projects that they may be working on, so they're not having to change and move out and save and fiddle around and waste time when they could just be working in essentially the one or two environment. So, as I touched on quite a couple of times today, Microsoft 365 and Dropbox have a partnership. And one of the main reasons that this partnership was established was because we noticed, both organisations, that over 40 billion Microsoft documents were being saved into Dropbox accounts on a yearly basis. So that's a huge volume of documentation that's actually being saved into another platform. So what we found was that it was better essentially for our customers if we work together. And when it comes to it, we want to make sure that these partnerships are strong, but also that they help people. There's over 1.2 billion people that use Microsoft Office across the world. There's over 500 million people that use Dropbox. So using Dropbox and Office 365 together increases the chances that employees are going to actually adopt the IT solutions that we're presenting to them. It also is going to ensure that they're able to get their work done no matter where they are and on what device. So again, whether you're sitting in a park or you're waiting in an airport, having the ability to access your documents, make changes to them and save them straight back into a Dropbox account is extremely valuable for people. It reduces the amount of time when they're having to run back to a desktop and quickly fill in some data. They can get more done while they are mobile. And it also increases their flexibility. So in terms of that work life, what they really want.
I think just from taking it into an end user's perspective, and obviously I'm a big fan of Office 365 and been a big fan of Dropbox and used both for years. And a lot of people will say, well, Microsoft have their solutions and there are other solutions out there. I think just from from an end user perspective, a lot of these, there's 500 million people using Dropbox already. They're already okay with the product. They know how to use it. They've got it on their phones, on their iPads, on their desktops, etc. The ability to have that application, that service that they're already using, and then plugging into that really reduces the time to get end users up to speed technologically wise and from a user adoption perspective. Because you're already using the service and then you plug it into something else that they're already using, you're not jarring their experience, you're not taking away that personal workflow aspect from them.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all about giving it back to your employees and making sure that they're using tools that are easy for them to use. If you provide them with something that's hard or something that's new, people get scared of change. And, this is something that we've noticed for years. It doesn't matter what environment it is, whether it's in a work environment or a school environment, people get very nervous about having to change and learn new tools. And they're already using it. Adding the two tools together makes it simple for them and makes them more productive. One of the key features of the actual partnership, again, which some of you may already be familiar with, is badges. So badges is a tool that allows you to see when somebody else is working on a Microsoft 365 file. And it allows you to quickly copy and share links from the file, but also if somebody is actively working in the document, what will happen, instead of that badge being blue, which you can potentially see on the screen right now, it'll go red. And I can also view and comment and see what history and what changes have been made to that document. So it's really handy when I'm working with clients or your customers are working with clients, they can go and make changes, open it on the web browser. So in terms of the Office integration with Office, what we allow you to do is sync files and share space, and of course this is across the Microsoft suite. But we allow you to make changes on the mobile app and then save directly to Dropbox. So whether you're on your iPad, your Android, any other telephone device, what you could essentially do, for example, is open up that PowerPoint that Bob sent, edit it, make changes, and then save the file straight down into your Dropbox account, and then share that link back with Bob. And you don't actually physically need to log in and make changes. You have all access while you're on the mobile device. You can edit it anywhere, and it's ready to go for anybody else that potentially wanted to use the document. It's super valuable if for some reason you can't make it into the office and you don't have access to your work computer for the day. You just use your mobile device to make those changes. It's also very valuable if, hypothetically, you're off sick or you're at a child's sporting game or you have a family event, and so again, you're not in the office. You use your mobile device, you make those changes to the Microsoft document, and they're straight back into your Dropbox, and you can share that directly via a link to anybody that you need access to give access to it. Active Directory is something that's really fabulous as well. And in terms of how we work with Dropbox, we support the ability to have Microsoft Active Directory to manage employees, so it's easy to navigate groups, pages, and the API integration. It's you'll be instantly part of the right groups on Dropbox that you need to have access to, so you can share files and folders extremely easily. This essentially simplifies the provisioning process from your perspective as well, giving you guys more control, but also reducing the amount of time you could potentially be wasting on adding an individual every single time they needed to be added to a group. Now, again, in terms of integration, you've got integration. So you have the full access by the app on the Android phone. Again, you can edit and save and sync immediately to your PC and also your Mac at home, which is great. So it doesn't matter what device you're using, and it doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same solution across or device across every single tool that you work. So you maybe use an Apple for your phone and you use a PC at home. Dropbox allows you to sync, and it'll sync exactly the same way on all those devices. So finally, the last piece on co-authoring online. So in terms of the partnership, something that I mentioned before and kind of talked about was badges. This kind of really enables you to share with the Office Online Open. It allows you to view it and also make changes. So you can update copies simple as one click. It gives you a couple of seconds to sync, and then you're able to share it with your team. You won't run into conflicted copies, which is fabulous for anyone that's having, multiple people working in a document. That being said, and I just want to flag this with you guys, if one person is actually offline working on that same document, even though you're online, it will save multiple versions for you. And that's purely because that individual isn't online. But what will happen with Dropbox for Business is those versions will be accessible to both individuals at any time, and that's not something that you have with the free Dropbox. So from a business perspective, again, it's making it easier for you guys to share and collaborate and view what's happening without ever having to, leave that environment that we've given you access to. So Dropbox and Adobe, another big partnership that we have. So Adobe, as you know, and Dropbox formed that partnership at the end of the last year. And with over 18 billion PDFs being stored in Dropbox, kind of a big number, it's critical for us to make sure that our users are able to work the way they want. In fact, what we've found is PDFs are some of the most common business files that are used in Dropbox. So one of the main reasons that we actually partnered with Adobe was we wanted to make it easier for people that were using PDFs to collaborate in an environment that they were using on a day-to-day basis. So in terms of the collaboration, we collaborate both with Adobe Document Cloud and Adobe Creative. We want you and the users to be able to collaborate with all Dropbox by simply clicking, swiping and accessing those documents, whether in the cloud or potentially on your devices. In terms of how we work from an Acrobat perspective, this means that your PDFs are accessible anywhere. You won't essentially be losing time waiting to get a document back to you. You can access it on the go, redline it, make changes, electronically sign it, and add feedback to any potential mock designs that you have. And you'll be able to really PDFs on the go, share with your network in seconds, and then pull up the latest drafts of any changes that you've made. Maybe there's a specific document that you're working on at the moment. You made a couple of changes the other day. You've come up with some additional ideas that you think should be added to it, but you're not in the office. Again, you use your mobile device, make those changes, send them through to the whatever needs to be changed. In terms of the Creative Cloud, sharing your work within seconds with anybody that you want to make edits with. Having the ability to access those built-in previews is a key feature for Adobe files. We really wanted to focus on how you could collaborate and make sure that you could access any file at any time. And whether you're in a design organization or you're potentially in construction, your file types are huge. Being able to access them extremely quickly and have them sync down, but also open very quickly is really important to the way people work these days. And that, again, is another fundamental reason why we made this partnership. So, a little bit over the partnership piece now for you and kind of really want to focus on deployment. So, in terms of Dropbox for Business, the great thing about it, and I keep saying it's a great thing, is it's already existing in terms of adoption. Most of the organizations that we work with already have people using it. However, they don't have the full ability to have access over what's happening within their organization. And Dropbox for Business will give you the visibility and control that your organizations need to have on all their users. It will also allow you to seamlessly migrate any data. So if you need access to files, you need access to, this is what they can have with Dropbox for Business. There's also the ability to have training and support. Dropbox offers user guides, administration guides, which walk you through how to use the business product. Also, the business product gives you a couple of key features that are quite new, are very new actually. One being invite enforcement, and this is for organizations that essentially go wall to wall with Dropbox for Business. But what you have the ability to do is enforce invitations of essentially anybody that is using the Dropbox account under your company domain. And then you can also capture your organization. So you can bring those personal accounts under the IT control, giving you what you guys need from a control perspective, but also a compliance perspective. Perfect. So, Dropbox for Business, kind of just a quick recap for you on a couple of things that it does. The first piece of Dropbox for Business is you have as much storage as you need, which people think is not such a big deal. When you have no cap on the amount of data that you can be storing as an organization, you're not only saving money, but you're also allowing people to have large files accessible at any time when they need them. Unlimited version history. Files can get corrupt quite easily these days, whether somebody accidentally clicks into an email that has a virus on it. Dropbox for Business gives you that version history. So you get a virus at 9 o'clock in the morning, you need to be at that meeting at 10 o'clock with that presentation. You can click back to the presentation from the previous version, have full access to it, and away you go with your day. And then unlimited recovery. So somebody accidentally deletes files. And look, it happens all the time. You can be jumping around, throw your phone in your bag, file accidentally gets deleted, or the other end of the spectrum. Someone maliciously deletes a file. Dropbox for Business gives you the ability to actually stop that and recover all the files that you're looking for. And from an enterprise perspective, in terms of the business, it has been proven to increase productivity, reduce those storage costs, empower your organisation to become a mobile workforce. And if they're already a mobile workforce, improving the way that their processes are, making them more efficient in their jobs, managing risk and ensuring that your IP is secure, but also giving back control. So in terms of kind of what is coming, now as of last week, there was no Dropbox for Business education SKU, but now there happens to be. So that's something that's awesome, and Craig will be able to talk a bit more about that. And in the future, we've got a non-for-profit SKU which is coming. So non-for-profits at the moment, that SKU is not available, and look, I know, I understand it'll be tricky for a couple of you, but don't worry, it is on its way. We also will be introducing a Dropbox Enterprise SKU for some of your larger organizations that you're working with, and Project Infinite. So a way that people can have large volumes of documents accessible on their computers or their devices, but not necessarily taking space up on their physical computers. So that's all from me. I know I may have slightly word vomited a couple of you, but if you guys have any questions that you want to shoot at us, we're happy to answer them now. If you're a bit nervous about putting them on the chat, by all means, we're ready to answer those questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Liz. So what I thought I would do is just kind of round that off and have a look at the way that we actually transact Dropbox through our Ingram Micro Cloud Marketplace. And for those that may not have already activated their Ingram Micro account on our Cloud Marketplace, very easy to do. You're 90% of the way there. You already have an Ingram Micro login. All you need to simply do is either log into au.ingrammicro.com with your normal credentials, click on the shortcut on the right, or if you've got it in your bookmarks up the top, go through to the marketplace, activate your account on there. All you're going to do is go through your address details, phone number, choose whether or not you want to be charged by a credit card or through a 30-day terms account, and then about 5 minutes later, you'll be authorized and you'll simply just need to log in and then you have access to the marketplace. Through there, then you'll also then be able to navigate through to the Dropbox page, and all you need to have ready is a Dropbox Partner ID. Now, if you don't already have a Dropbox Partner ID, either reach out to us or you can simply go to dropbox.com/reseller, complete the form, and once you have that Partner ID, you'll be up and ready to go. So very, very easy to get up and running on the marketplace and on the Dropbox program. Really does take minutes, not a lot of time just to get up and going, and then you have full access to the program. So I just wanted to touch on, I guess, our ecosystem when we're talking around our marketplace. So obviously, we've got the marketplace where it's at one place to order, bill, provision, manage, and invoice across a range of services. But underpinning that, obviously, is the vendor support that we have from the likes of the Dropboxes and the Microsofts of the world, having their back-end security, as well as their help from a partner perspective. You've obviously got our team on the ground here. They help around putting specific solutions together, helping you from a sales perspective. And then on top of that, we also have what we call our Ignite services. And those are our services for our resellers. Every service that we have inside the marketplace, we also provide level 1 and level 2 support there. Absolutely free of charge, that's all included. So not only are we helping you bring all these solutions together, we're backing them up with our team support, our vendor support, we're also giving you technical support within there as well. So it really is that one place to go. Really the idea is, to help our resellers grow and maximize their opportunity in the market, but from a simple and scalable perspective. So when we look at the marketplace, we're actually looking at several different levels. On the front end is that place where we set up new customers and provision new services. And then behind that, what we call the reseller control panel is where looking after customers, looking after subscriptions, being able to build, being able to set up our own price files within there as well. They can actually also give access to end customers to their own version of that portal, so they can log in and see their own services, and if you want to allow them to, they can actually up and down their own services and use levels within there as well. So it's more than just that one place, to set up those services and customers. It really is a powerhouse to be able to manage and all those subscriptions and customers in the back end as well. Now, as we start building these out, you'll start to see more and more vendors pop up from there across, the likes of the infrastructure with the Azures and the softwares, security vendors, our comms and collaborations with the likes of 365 and Dropbox, and build out more and more around the management services as well. So if we look at the Dropbox section within Marketplace, you'll see very, very straightforward. Dropbox for Business within there. We click Continue. We're going to go in and set up our base order. Now with Dropbox, there is a minimum of 5 years to start an agreement, and all on an annual plan. And within there, once I click Continue, we're going to go in and we can either select a existing customer, or we can go through and set up a brand new customer. And then after that, all we need to do really is add that Dropbox reseller ID. And as said, if you don't yet have a reseller ID for Dropbox, you'll actually see a link within the Marketplace there to be able to go through and set that up. Once I've confirmed the customer or set them up brand new, again, we're just going to click Continue. Simply going to choose how we're going to get billed. In this case, we're going to go onto a credit card, or again, as I say, you could go onto a 30-day terms account. We're going to just confirm the quantities within there, tick that box and agree to the terms and conditions for both Ingram Micro and the Dropbox Business Partner Program, and submit. And then that's going to go and spin up an account for you. It normally takes around the likes of 5 to 10 minutes to spin that up. That's then going to send you through your login credentials. And then we're going to navigate to the control panel. And as I said, the control panel is where we go through and manage those existing customers and subscriptions. And in this case, I've navigated to my end customer. I've clicked on their Dropbox subscription, and as you can see there, I'm already starting to pull out a whole lot of information out of their account, around who's using what plans and licenses, team information within their dashboard on usability, and then I can simply click in and then go deeper back into the Dropbox control panel itself and do a lot more of the administration within there. But as you can see, even from a top-level management piece, we're pulling a lot of information out and popping into that control panel. But very, very easy to get started, very, very easy to spin up, and very, very easy to manage. So that brings us to the conclusion of this afternoon's webinar. If you do have any more questions, or you'd like to find out more about Dropbox or the Marketplace, you've got our contact details there. Please do drop us a line. Please do follow us on the Twitters and the YouTubes and LinkedIn. And in fact, if you want to share this webinar later, we'll be posting it up to YouTube. By all means, please share that link out. But without further ado, I'd like to thank you all again for spending time with us this afternoon. Thank you, Liz, for Dropbox for coming in. And have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much.